worked. The thought became reality. The Tacoma bed is now sitting on the roof of that Jetta wagon, and I'm really happy about it. It's out of the garage. Now I have all this room in here to work on the truck. The next thing I'm going to do is probably just kind of pan around and show you guys the sadness of the rust situation. I will end up removing, the spare tire, probably cut this exhaust out of the way. It's going to get junked anyway. I'm going to get all new stuff. The evap system's going to go. I don't need that with the diesel swap. But the fuel tank, I'm going to just try to get as much stuff off of here as I can so that it gives me more access to work on this rust. And then I'll probably leave most of, the main bracing, any structural components in place. I don't want to risk, anything shifting while I'm working on this rust. It's not to the point where it's going to crumble the whole truck completely. It's not that bad. But I might end up adding, some temporary braces or something here if I do see things shifting around as I cut sections. We'll address that as I go. So let me kind of pan around. You can see what it looks like now, and we'll hopefully make it look new-ish. This left-hand side's in significantly better shape than the right-hand side. So if you look down here, there's a whole bunch of flaky stuff. Kind of hard to say how bad it is until I get it cleaned up. There's still a lot of metal here. It's not completely pitted, rusted through, gone yet. As you go down the inside of here, though, the further you get towards that forward leaf spring mount, which is where these like to rust out the worst. All the pictures and stuff I've ever seen of these trucks rusting, it's right down here. And that's where mine is too. This is why I stopped driving the truck. I took a hammer to that. The reason that's bent in like that is because I took a hammer to this part of the frame. I was working my way from front to back trying to see, what was hiding beneath the scaly stuff. And that's when I noticed the crack starting to open up. And then I stopped hitting it at that point and decided just to park the truck until I came up with a plan to fix or junk or whatever to this truck, sell it, part it out. Here we are, though. We are in it pretty deep. We're going to be cleaning all this up. This is the worst of the worst right here. If it gets better from here on out, then, I'm seeing a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But what we're going to do is probably stop about here. You can kind of see what I'm dealing with. I can't help myself. I cut the muffler off. Let's see how loud it is. Whoa! Is that a 2JZ? I started on the frame already. I went and picked up one of these needle scalers from Harbor Freight. This is their heavy duty version. It's about $100. They work pretty dang good. You'll see how much rust I've already taken off this thing. They also sell smaller ones. Those ones aren't worth the time. They're kind of junk. It won't handle the heavy rust scale. This thing's got a lot more power, and because it is a heavy duty unit, you're probably going to want to have a decent sized air compressor. Mine is 80 gallon, 6.5 horsepower, I believe. So it keeps up just fine with this. And you're going to be using it a lot because you're going to have, depending on how bad it is, you'll be going non-stop with this thing. So definitely important to have a lot of air supply. It's also noisy, and there are going to be pieces flying everywhere. So all the basic safety stuff, safety glasses, earplugs, a mask is a really good idea. It's cold outside. Last week it was, we were in the 60s or so up here in Michigan, and then it just like that, it turned into the 30s. So I'm going to do some outside stuff, so I'm not going to film that, but I do have some spots here that I haven't even touched yet, so you can see just how well this will remove the material. What I have done already looks way better. I know where some more troubled spots are that I found. If you are really going to town with this thing, this business end here with all these little nails, these hard nails, they do an awesome job, and you can really lean into it if you want to. If you got some, thick, crusty areas, you'll just watch it flake right off. So you can kind of regulate the amount of pressure to it. And if you get into a soft spot, it will plow right through. So you don't want to deform it too bad, but at least you can kind of work your way around. Just kind of get a system going. You can work right down the frame, and it leaves a really nice finish. If you want to get the ultimate finish, of course, you can go back and sandblast it. But if you try to sandblast it right away, it's going to take a while. The point of this thing is to knock the heavy stuff off first. That way, it'll speed up the sandblast, because sandblast is a pain in the butt. Especially if you can do it yourself, like a pop blaster. You just be sitting there trying to blow that scale off, where that's like actual metal beating into the frame and just rattling it off. With the sand, just kind of hits it and flies off. So you do this first and come back. If you really want to sandblast it, it'll go a lot faster, it'll leave a lot better finish. And then depending on, if you don't really want that much extra work with sandblasting, or if you don't send it out, I think what I might even do is just try to go over this with a heavy wire brush and my grinder. I'll see when I get there. The other thing that's really great about this, it's causing so many micro vibrations when it's working its way down the frame that stuff's just dropping off everywhere. Not only is it taking off the area of contact, but all that vibration is actually rattling everything off that's inside the frame. So anything that's kind of flaking in there, it's going to fall down inside, but at least it's loosening it all up. And certain areas like here, you should be able to see where that was a little soft. There on the backside, there's actually that's where the rear shock mount kind of meets the inside of the frame. So there's like a tight spot there where stuff can build up. I think that's why it's gotten soft right here. It's kind of held some moisture and things in here. But I'll be able to cut this open, and I'll clean out areas like that, so that stuff that's fallen down, and then I'll come back and I'll repair these areas. But next I'll get some close-up shots of just how this tool works and how great it works. All right, gloves, eye protection, earplugs, I'm good to go. Don't forget, oil your tool. Keep it lubed, very important. Put some of that good stuff in there. There we go, check this out. I'm going to do a whole lot more of this, and then I'll just show you guys when I'm closer to being finished, the result. And what I got left in this frame, I guess one last thing too, you'll be able to see down at the bottom, right? That's just a mess, you know, that's just chunks of rust. If you were using a wire wheel or sandblasting, of course, sandblasting alone kicks up a ton of dust. And then a wire wheel is also going to kind of spin everything around and sling it everywhere. And then you got to deal with the wires that break off. So this scaler is my go-to for doing this kind of work. I borrowed them in the past from people, so it's nice to finally have my own right here ready to go. Look at that. Figured might as well get a close-up of that. That's the worst part of the whole truck. It is not pretty, but it's other than the inside here where I knew it was already messed up, the outside and around it, it hasn't gone through or anything, and it's still, even after scaling this troubled area, other than like right at the very, very bottom here, I can look on the inside, there's still a ton of metal in there, and it's super solid, and this area is still intact. So that made me feel a lot better now that I've been able to remove the layers of rust to really see what I got left to work with. All right, here's an update on the Tacoma frame. I've been at it for a couple hours with the needle scaler, and oh man, I'm pretty sure they say that the camera adds 10 pounds of rust, and no joke, look down here. That pile is growing. That's rust, dirt, metal, things, you know, any bolts that broke off, I just throw in that pile. Also glad, you know, good idea, updated my tetanus shot a while ago. I'm good to go there. This thing is going to be a bit of work. So the worst of it, man, it looks way better now. I use that needle scaler, and then you can see down there on the floor by my cutoff wheel, that just a hammer and chisel. Some of the heavier stuff, I've gone through and just kind of, you know, tapped it a few times in the real crusty areas to pop the big stuff loose. And then I go at it with the needle scaler, and it's really cleaned it up a lot. It's looking way better. And I'm really glad also that I've been able to get inside of the frame. The areas that, I mean, if I just put one of those, you know, rust cap kits over this stuff's still going to be rotting away on the inside. And eventually, even the stuff that I welded to is going to crust out. So I feel a lot better that I've gone through, you know, this extent, opened it up. So you can still see where I left off. See that line of flakiness in there? So that's where here that scaler is going to come in here and just flake all that stuff right off. Also inside of here, see how underneath, kind of wraps up underneath this like bed mount. There's like another added layer inside of there that is gone, but it's some other additional reinforcement that Toyota must have added at some point. So even though this thing's all cut open, the frame hasn't tweaked, flexed, or anything like that. It's still where it was when I started. I have measurements of things, and I'm going to add to that as I go, just so that if I cut something off, I can put it back where it needs to be. My first thing is to address this obvious, the worst rust on the whole truck. I want to get this cleaned up and boxed in. So that line will get cleaned up a little bit better, top and bottom. I'm going to clean all that stuff out on the inside as best I can get it. And then I'll make a template, and I want to box not only this back in how it was, but I want to take it up further along the frame. So even scarier than that rusted part of the frame is this cross member piece that held the gas tank. So you can see the gas tank where it was, that strap that's hanging down. This side still intact, good to go. You pan over to here, and there is nothing left. It's basically rotted away. I mean, there's nothing on the bottom, just these two little corner bits that's left. You know, and that's not only supporting the gas tank, it's also supporting the exhaust and the muffler right there. So that's kind of scary. That's obviously going to get cut and taken away. I think I'd like to take at least this first section of the repair up behind here, maybe, before this shock is boxed in. And I want to, all the way down this, put a whole new piece in. I'll make a template and work on that next. We'll see how that goes.